Buddy, this is going to be a quick drywall repair video for dummies. And one night I heard a loud noise in my music room, and I came in to find what I thought was my sturdy shelf completely had given away, dropping oodles and oodles of effects pedals on the floor. I was not happy. And this is what the fail looked like. The studs, the drywall studs, we weren't using studs, we were using drywall mounting screws, which were rated at 75 pounds a piece. I had a total of 6, so that's 450 pounds. Problem is, the drywall gave away. I'd never seen anything like that before. Quite a mess. So what did I do? You go in and you cut a nice square hole, a rectangular hole, around your fail holes, which is what I did. And I took pictures to measure them to figure out what I was going to do after I measured these holes. And here we are, cleaned up with the holes in the wall. So I found this product, which later in the video I'll talk about, but it is an aluminum mesh that is sticky on the back, and you cut it larger than your holes, and you affix it to the drywall. Then you get joint compound, and you lather over the items that have been patched with the mesh, and you let it dry about 24 hours. I put a fan on it to help it dry. And that's what it looks like after sanding and after a fresh coat of paint. These are some of the tools you're going to need as far as doing the painting and sanding and whatnot. And there it is, finished. So I'm going to continue the video with a few more little videos added on to talk about exactly how I did this. Okay, when you have the hole in the wall situation, not too big a hole, but holes that definitely need patching, the thing to do is cut a nice square hole around your damaged sheetrock, and one of these box cutters will work fine for cutting the sheetrock. The next thing you're going to need is a patch. Now there's several varieties, but this is what I picked up: the Anvil 8x8 inch Drywall Repair patch. Lightweight aluminum, perforated, and this is what I had left over from my repair job. This is what this stuff looks like. And you peel off the back, and the whole opposite surface of this is sticky. So you cut a piece that's 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch bigger than the hole that you cut in the wall with your drywall knife. Now, to cut these sheets, I just used a pair of snips like this. They work just fine. Once this is in place, you're going to need some joint compound. And I bought all this stuff at Home Depot. I usually shop at Lowe's, but this venture I shopped at Home Depot. And you're going to need one of these to smooth out your joint compound, and you should get one that is bigger than the hole. So you see the comparison here. For a piece cut like this, it's bigger than the patch, and that's what you're looking for. So once you do that, put your joint compound on. Let this dry from anywhere to 12 to 24 hours. I used a fan blowing on it. And then you're going to need to sand it. And you can buy these sort of rectangular shaped spongy sandpaper blocks. I have misplaced the ones I used. They're probably still up in the room where I did the repair. And it's a good idea to wet down with a little bit of a damp rag the area you're going to sand, and it helps keep the dust down. If you've got sensitive electronic equipment like I did in that room, you cover it with sheets. And I turn on my air conditioning to suck the dust out. And you also want to put down a drop cloth, because the sanded down joint compound is just a chalky mess that goes everywhere. So once this is dry, the next thing you want to do is find the paint to match the area, which fortunately I still had. And you're going to need a few things. This paint tray is good for a roller, small patch job. You know, I would get a little small roller like this. To stir your paint up, especially like I needed to do, one of these is a great item to have. You just pull this little area off, and it goes, basically fits right onto your cordless drill, and you're stirring your paint. A lot easier than taking it to the store and saying, could you shake up my old paint, which is a true waste of time. Now, I had chair railing that I needed to paint up close to, so it's nice to have one of these trim helpers, so you can do a quick and dirty job of painting right up against an area you don't want paint on it. And I used the brush for that. If you buy quality stuff, you'll get quality results. If you buy cheap crap, you'll get crappy results. Now, some of you might think, well, if I put this on the wall and I glue it down like it's set up, and then I put the joint compound on, and then I sand it, isn't this going to show? Well, if you're careful, no. What I did was I sanded very well and evenly as best as I could. And when I saw the hints of this, maybe this edge here sticking up, or maybe the cut edge, if it started to appear through the joint compound I was sanding, I stopped. And as you can see in the finished wall, it looks great. Doesn't look like it was ever there. Now, what I did, which other videos don't talk about doing, you know, these holes, perforated holes, supposedly are to let joint compound go through and fill the hole up. Well, to save on joint compound, what I did is I found some packing material, because I ship stuff a lot, and I just put that that bubble wrap or whatever in the hole about even with the outside part of the sheetrock, and then I didn't have to use as much joint compound to fill things up, and it's going to be just fine. So later on in the video, you will see the finished product of the results of this repair job. Real quick, I want to show you the drywall screws that I used. Let's go over here. And here they are. They're easy anchor drywall screws. These things work great. They screw right into the wall, and you can hang your shelves or whatever. And these were 75 pounds per anchor. The trouble is, on the L bracket I was using, the displacement between the screws was not much more than that. And then the next screw down was maybe out here, and that distance between screws, this one down here by itself failed a little bit. But the two screws of this type, drywall screws that were this close, they completely pulled out and pulled a big chunk of the sheetrock out. The shelf fell off the wall and all my goods went crashing down. Fortunately, nothing broke and nothing was damaged. It just scared the crap out of me when I heard it happen. But I would say these are good if they're spaced out from each other, and if you're got to put them close to each other, make sure you don't have a lot of weight on your shelf or whatever you're using these for. I guess you could put up, instead of 2 L brackets, you could put up 4 or 5, but that seems overkill. So the best thing to do is find a stud. And how do you find a stud in a wall? Well, there's a lot of different products for that. You've got these electronic stud finders. This works great. The Zircon edge finder. You run this along the wall like so, and let's imagine the edge of the stud is this white line. The stud finder, you hold the button down, it lights up, and there you have your stud. You come from the other direction, boom, you hit the other edge, mark it on the wall, there's your stud. I highly recommend you get one of these. They're not expensive. Now, the other old school stud finder is this little guy, which is a magnet. And you run it around the wall, and if it hits metal, it's going to wiggle. You see how it's wiggling when I put it over this vise? It is going to wiggle when it hits nails or screws that are attached to the sheetrock to the stud. I used this for years, worked fine. Then I got lazy and I bought one of these because this has an option called deep scan, and it just is more accurate. But those are a few of the things that you need, and make sure when you're done painting, clean everything up. And that's it for now. I hope some of this has helped you. I don't know, all this stuff and this and that I bought, and I had all these left over for the next time I go through a ceiling or a wall or whatever. I've got those. So you're talking somewhere between $40 and $50 worth of stuff, not including this, not including this, not including this, not including this, and not including any of this, and not including the paint. But this stuff, joint compound, and a good one of these, good God, I can't remember the name of it, that's going to run you around $40. So I hope this little demo explanation helps. And like they always say, right tool for the right job. After a little bit of looking around, I did find these spongy sort of sanding blocks that are great for sanding down your dried mud or joint compound. And the older they are, they sort of become more fine. So what you could do is start out with your new one, go down to one that's more used, and then go down to your last sanding with an older one. If you're going to be in a non-ventilated area, I really suggest you get yourself something to wear to filter out all the dust when you do sanding. All right. After cutting out clean holes where the shelf came down, patching it up with a special patch product, and finding the old paint left over from when we moved in here. This is fresh paint. Looks pretty good for now. Can't complain. I will show you pictures of the shelf reinstalled. This time on the studs. My 75 pound sheetrock screws, I had 3 of them times 2. I had 6 of them holding this shelf up. Unfortunately, they were a little too close together, so the sheetrock itself couldn't stand the stress. The screws held, sheetrock failed. This time it's up to the good old studs. So my storage shelf will soon be back up and used. Here it is. The shelf has been put back up. All the holes have been patched and the screws are now in studs. And as far as a level check goes, we are good to go. All I have to do now is put in these screws holes here to hold the shelf and patch up these others with a little bit of wood putty. And I have decided to share the weight by installing another shelf that will go right here. I will find the studs and put another shelf on this wall here. Then I will split everything up to a 50-50 weight ratio and should last till the apocalypse. Very good. This has been how to repair broken drywall, holes in drywall, and a little bit of advice on putting shelves up. Like I said before, the drywall screws that I had supporting 450 pounds, no, didn't work. They stayed in the sheetrock okay, but they pulled the sheetrock right away from the wall and we had a total collapse. So if you can, always go with studs. The other thing with shelf brackets like this, the bottom one's definitely going to be in the stud, but these two here that are juxtaposed, you can't be screwing them in straight because you're going to come along the side of the stud. So what you do is you drill a hole that's more at an angle, a 45-degree angle, like that. And then your screws screw in at an angle into the stud. It's always good with work like this to drill yourself a guide hole. Use a drill that's not wider than the main part, the width of your screw, and you will be good to go. Alright, happy construction. Second shelf is now installed, so we can split the weight between two shelves and we should not have a problem with collapse. I used the studs and I think it'll work well. Alright, now this is the end of the video.